In today's video, I want to highlight a massive update that is coming to a free PlayStation 4 title, an MMO that I've always been recommending, but now it's gonna get even better come April 2nd. TERA's getting a significant update with TERA Reloaded, and I do want to take you guys through that. Speaking of MMOs, the Final Fantasy XIV x Final Fantasy XV crossover gets a release date, and Final Fantasy XIV updates have been scheduled. That's another fantastic MMO, and I did want to highlight that. Also, Ys 9 has gotten its first gameplay and new details have emerged from that game. Falcom debuted the first gameplay of Ys 9 Monstrum Nox during the Dengeki Game Festival 2019, and we got a plethora of new details, so I'll take you guys through everything that was said about that. One of the most requested features of the PlayStation 5 whenever it is released is of course backwards compatibility, and I think it's a foregone conclusion that we will get some form of backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 5, but to add more fuel to the fire, another Sony backwards compatibility patent has been surfaced, so I think that's gonna be a reality, but we'll take a look at that. And also, Dead Cells was one of the remarkable games of 2018. It was a tremendous title, and it has sold over 1 million copies. Great to see that game succeed, so I do want to talk a little bit about that. More on that at the end of this video. First up, the free-to-play title on the PlayStation 4 in TERA is getting a massive update with TERA Reloaded. That's coming on April 2nd, and what can you expect out of this one? Well, a lot. It's one of the biggest updates yet, with rework systems, a new race and class combination, and much more. The Ellen Gunner is the cornerstone of the massive update, and she is locked and loaded for fun. She may look adorably cute, but don't let that fool you. She brings high-octane firepower to any fight, but that's only the beginning for TERA's console players. Everyone will find plenty of new content to explore, including the new enchanting system, the Guardian Legion missions that offer daily quests for everyone, and new endgame dungeons that come complete with robust endgame gear system. If you're also a Twitch Prime subscriber, you'll find a bunch of promotional goodies, so check your inbox, and you might have that waiting for you as well. Again, a new gear progression system is also being introduced. Upon reaching level 65, you can take the quest Fresh Arms and Legs to receive a set of Guardian gear and set yourself upon the road to top tier gear. Enchant your way up from Guardian to Twist Heart to Frost Metal to Stormcry. It's a substantial update, and again, TERA is an absolutely free title, and as far as MMO goes, I find this to be one of the more accessible MMOs that's really catered towards a console player, because it does have a more action-oriented combat system. So comparatively speaking to a lot of other slower-paced MMOs, TERA is a lot more accessible to the console player that's more familiar with action RPGs and games like that. So that's why I've always gone to bat for TERA, especially for a console player, and the experience is getting even better with TERA Reloaded, as that's hitting the PS4 on April 2nd, a free expansion. Speaking of MMOs, one of the most notable MMOs on the PlayStation 4 is of course Final Fantasy XIV, and that game continues to get significant updates from Square Enix, and the Final Fantasy XIV Final Fantasy XV crossover event gets a release date. Following update 4.56 that will come on March 26th, a new data center will be added to servers and will be redistributed among data centers. The Final Fantasy XV crossover event, A Nocturne for Heroes, will start on April 16th and end on May 27th. It'll reward players with Noctis's outfit and hairstyle, and on top of that, you will get a 4-player Regalia mount. Patch 4.57 will come afterward on April 23rd. That itself will introduce the World Visit system. This allows players to visit other servers in the same data center and the North American data center expansion. Update 4.58 will also come in May, and that'll simply bring some tweets and various updates. That's going to be a smaller update, but nonetheless cool to see it continue to get updated. We'll leave a link in the description box down below where you can have an in-depth look on everything that's coming to Final Fantasy XIV, one of the most compelling MMORPGs available across all platforms. You look at games like WoW and other PC MMO offerings, Final Fantasy XIV is right up there with them, and it's also found a pretty sizable home on the PlayStation 4. So good news for MMO fans, as TERA Reloaded is hitting April 2nd, and then FF14 is going to get some substantial updates come April. Next up, you guys know that I like to keep you up to speed on all the JRPGs coming to the PlayStation 4, and one of the major ones that'll be out in 2019 in Japan at least is Ys 9 Monstrum Nox, the latest in the Ys franchise. Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Data was of course received very well, and that's why so many gamers are looking forward to this one, and now we've gotten the first gameplay of the title, and it's looking to be a substantial step up from Ys 8. A lot of details were posted. I'll have a link to Gamatsu in the description box below where you can take a look at everything, but here are just some of the highlights. Maps are three-dimensional with different levels of elevation. Jumping and vertical actions have increased. 40 to 50% of the map is the city. The prison is a major symbol, and surrounding it is a vast city. Monstrum means monster, and Nox means night. Combined, that means Night of the Monsters, as the title suggests. Night is an important keyword. The way Adol appears is different than before. He is in a significantly unusual form. The absence of Adol in a lot of the promotional material has been one of the talking points about this game. Of course, Adol, series veteran, the main character in all of the games, been notably absent from a lot of the promotional material, and that's getting gamers to question what's going on within the story of the game, and that's pretty interesting because that will add a new spin to the narrative of Ys 9, so that's pretty exciting. Ys 9 has simple action that even novice and players not good at action games can enjoy. If you guys are not familiar with Ys, the action gameplay is pretty simple, but at the same time I find it rather rewarding and rather fun. City life is also going to be different in Ys 9. There are various things Adol needs to do in order to live in the city. He will not be camping as he has in the past. Unlike Ys, the Oath and Felghana, the city itself is also where the adventure happens. Guild management is one of the elements that serves as a means for Adol to live in the city. Adol's position is special and not the type of thing he can be proud of. He starts from the position of so now what. It is the one reason his appearance has yet to be revealed. A lot of other details have been posted. I won't go through everything, but again, get all the details on Ys 9 from Gematsu, link in the description box below. Next up, what has been the one major thing that gamers wanted to see implemented on the PlayStation 4 and without a doubt need to see in the PlayStation 5? Well, that is of course backwards compatibility. If the PlayStation 5 is released and it at the very least cannot play PlayStation 4 games, well, that is going to create an uproar. Considering we know that backwards compatibility is here to stay on Xbox platforms, Sony better follow in suit, and more likely than not, Sony has to offer entire backwards compatibility with PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 1 games. That would be ideal, but at the very least, we need backwards compatibility with PS4 games, and that is probably going to be happening as another Sony backwards compatibility patent has surfaced. According to the listing, the application specifically refers to backwards compatibility by algorithm matching disabling features or throttling performance. Here's the exact statement, quote, "A new device executing an application on a new CPU determines whether the application is for a legacy device having a legacy CPU. When the application is for the legacy device, the new CPU executes the application with selected features of the new CPU that are not present on the legacy CPU disabled, or with the latency of an instruction execution of the new CPUs altered to match or approximate a latency of the legacy CPU, or with algorithmic details of operation of one or more units of the new CPU altered to match or approximate algorithmic details of operation of corresponding units of the legacy CPU." So a lot of jargon that some of you guys are not going to understand. Obviously though, that points to some sort of backwards compatibility being implemented into the PlayStation 5. At least that's what you would think. I think it's a little bit too long in the tooth for PlayStation 4 to get backwards compatibility, but who knows, we've seen crazier. Again, I think if PlayStation 5 doesn't have backwards compatibility, that would give Microsoft and the Xbox brand a gigantic heads up going into next generation. It would be very similar to everything that happened with used games at the start of this generation. Could you imagine if the tables have turned and Microsoft are the ones that are offering backwards compatibility, but Sony are the ones that are not? You know what happened, and the negative publicity that had for the Xbox One. Sony definitely doesn't want to replicate that on their end, and they know that having backwards compatibility is of utmost importance, especially if you want to continue to help PlayStation now get off the ground, and especially with that platform offering downloads. Now, I've been saying if we get full backwards compatibility, that is going to be one of the most compelling subscription services that is offered in gaming, with the entire access of the PlayStation library, considering the history and the legacy that PlayStation has from PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 games. Man, that could be an incredible service, but right now only the PS4 games are downloadable, and a lot of the quality in that service is with the PS3 lineup. If that could be offered as downloads too, yeah, $20 a month might be a little pricey, but for all of those games, man, it might be worth it. And lastly, I do want to quickly highlight the fact that Dead Cells has sold over 1 million copies since its launch. It sold the most on PC, and the Switch port came in second place. 60% of that number was on PC, and of the console versions, the Nintendo Switch port was the biggest seller, which is a little bit surprising, but I guess games like that do tend to generate more interest on the Nintendo Switch, especially being able to take it on the go, as opposed to, say, the PlayStation 4. But Dead Cells was a tremendous game, a great art style, a game that kind of seemed a little bit simple at first, but then as you played it, it got more and more exhilarating, more and more addicting, and it turned out to be a very great experience, and good to see that game has done as well it has had. It's continued to be updated, and this was announced at GDC from Sebastian Bernard, a designer on the game. So that is some great news, and Dead Cells was, again, a tremendous roguelike game. Really has held up in value as well, even though it was released all the way back in August. So being, what, 7 months old? Even if it goes on sale, it'll only be like $5 off of its initial $25 price point, but even at that base price, it is absolutely worth it. So if you've yet to play Dead Cells, I mean, if you've waited this long, maybe you can wait on for a deeper discount, but it is a great game, and I would highly recommend it if you are into roguelikes, and over 1 million people have enjoyed the title. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, the free-to-play title in TERA Reloaded is getting a massive update with TERA Reloaded April 2nd, so be on the lookout for that. Final Fantasy XIV, another massive MMO, is getting some major updates in April. Final Fantasy 15 crossover event, so that's pretty cool. Ys 9 has gotten some new gameplay details, so check that out if you're into JRPGs. Backwards compatibility, I think, is a foregone conclusion on the PS5, and this patent adds fuel to the fire. And Dead Cells has sold over 1 million copies. Great to see that game be as successful as it has been. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.